Hi, my name is Antonia, and today I'll be talking about the evidence that women mature psychologically faster than men. My objectives are that past research offers a scientific reason behind the common notion that men take longer to act their age than women do. Therefore, this presentation will focus on studies that explore the biological, cognitive, and emotional development differences between males and females. Psychological maturation will be defined as emotional intelligence, emotional regulation, and by using the developmental theory. In doing so, I will argue that women mature psychologically faster than men. The first article I looked at was that girls optimize brain connections earlier than boys by Lim et al. 2013. They found that girls optimize brain connections earlier than boys, which suggests why females mature faster in certain cognitive and emotional areas than males during childhood and adolescence. An imaging tool was used to estimate how the different regions of the brain communicate, specifically looking at fiber tracts that connect brain cells to one another. The key findings of the study was that at birth, men and women have the same number of brain fibers, and these fibers create a network that help us to learn and develop. Results show that the brain undergoes functional and autonomic changes as we age, and these changes strengthen the connections in our brain known as the pruning process. This occurs at an early age in girls than boys. They also found that females have a larger corpus callosum and have more interconnectivities, which allows them to process information faster than men. The next article I looked at was a review of sex differences in peer relationship processes, potential trade-offs for the emotional and behavioral development of girls and boys by Rose and Rudolph, 2006. Rose and Rudolph hypothesized that sex differences in peer relationship processes influences girls and boys' emotional and behavioral development. A peer socialization model was used to examine emotional and behavioral styles of boys and girls during childhood, and results showed that girls begin to read emotional signals at an earlier age than boys, and by the start of their schooling are more sensitive, empathetic, and caring, leading to faster psychological maturity. They also found that girls care more about friendships than boys, who are more competitive and care about social dominance. Girls engage in more self-disclosure with their friends than boys and are more likely to express their problems and seek emotional support, whereas boys are less likely to seek support for stress and instead use diversion as a coping mechanism for stress. Boys interact in larger play groups with well-defined dominance hierarchies, engage in more competitive, strenuous activity than girls, and prefer to play in louder environments than girls. The last article I looked at was gender differences in the structural connectome of the teenage brain revealed by generalized Q sampling MRI by Tyne et al. 2017. Adolescence is a time for biological, emotional, and social changes. Tyne et al. Examined the brain structural network to outline key differences between adolescent male and female brains by looking at a group of 59 participants, and results indicated that adolescent male brains are better at intrahemispheric communication, whereas adolescent female brains are better at interhemispheric communication. The key findings of their study was that interhemispheric refers to the use of both sides of the brain, which means more connections moving left to right. Therefore, women can source information from a multitude of regions of the brain and perform better at language and communication tasks, which also supports the theory that girls perform better at verbal communication tasks than boys. And intrahemispheric means communication within the hemisphere, supporting the theory of boys displaying greater spatial awareness than girls. This means more connections are moving from the front to the back of the brain, and that results in better hand-eye coordination and spatial awareness. The results of this study also found a higher degree of small worldness in males' brains compared with teenage females. And the network organization of adolescent male brains is more local and has better short range within lobe connectivity than adolescent female brains. Evaluating my evidence, Lim et al. 2013, pros of their study was that it observes a large data set involving participants aged 4 to 40 years old. However, subjects were unequally distributed across ages, and having subjects aged between 4 and 40 years may not be optimal for detecting major structural changes in the brain. Rose and Rudolph's study, a benefit of that was that it was a comprehensive summary of hundreds of studies, and however, some of the studies had contradictory findings. But this can also lead to an unbiased summary of all those studies because it shows both sides of how and the study only focused on emotional and behavioral patterns during childhood rather than other stages of development. Tyne et al. 2017, a pro of this study was that it was accurate scientific methods were used to reliably measure results, and these scientific methods were more up to date than previous studies, being in 2017. However, more male than female participants were used, and it was a small data set involving participants aged 12 to 24 years. And the sample size was also quite small, involving only 59 participants, and it didn't account for extraneous variables such as early maturers and late maturers, and the impact of puberty hitting girls earlier than boys. In conclusion, according to past research, it can be supported that cognitive development occurs at an earlier age for girls than boys, and girls have more emotional awareness. While boys have more spatial awareness and better physical skills, this is more indicative of physiological and biological development rather than psychological maturation. Therefore, evidence suggests girls mature psychologically faster than boys. Here are my references.